and Gaetano Vaccaro, who are going to get us started with a wonderful song.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taina Asili, and this is Gaetano Vaccaro, and we are so grateful to be here with you tonight. Music is such an important and powerful part of our movements of resistance. And this song right here is a song that we wrote in collaboration with an organization called 1 Billion Rising. It's called We Are Rising.
1 for a billion, billion, billion.
In a time of an upheaval will come a transformation. Ignite a fire that will burn like the sun. Become a strong movement, fierce and determined, informed by where we are and where we've come from. We are those who are rising from Manila to Miami, building trust and solidarity. Love is our bond. And in the streets we are marching to end the rape and the suffering, to stop the fascist tyranny. Organize as one. We are rising. We are rising. We are rising now in this life. From those who dare to interrupt the violence, to those who expose the truth and break the silence, warriors who work to open up the prison bars, valiant souls who stand up against the unjust wars, multitudes who defy wars along the border, masses who unify to protect our water, rebel minds who unionize for workers' rights, fearless hearts who fight to defend trans lives, those who take back their land and their health, those who seek to redistribute the wealth, youth who demand a right to education, those who reclaim political power in their nation. We cry out, say her name. We chant, love Trump's head, and we will not be raised. It's we who decide our fate, 'cause we are rising. We are rising. We are rising now in this life. We are rising. We are rising. We are rising now. And in this life, we are women who've endured violence and degradation, slavery, trafficking, and mutilation, rape and abuse, racist discrimination, those who survive labor exploitation, colonization and gentrification, imprisonment, migration, and militarization, homophobia and transphobic aggression, violence for police, reproductive oppression. But from the pain we will open eyes, awaken hearts and awaken minds, and our demands we intensify. Strategically we are organized. Together we can raise the vibration through our action and imagination, respect, trust, and communication, and love for our future generation. Intersectional, inclusive we come. Collective power is how this is won. We keep it rising like the fire of the sun. We will rise like the sun. We will rise like the sun.
1 for a billion, a billion for one. 1 for a billion, a billion for one. 1 for a billion, a billion for one.
We are rising. We are rising. We are rising now. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Y hola a todos. Me llamo Taina Sili y gracias por estar con nosotros. Si quieres escuchar este programa en español, visite el link que está en tu pantalla o en el chat. Muchísimas gracias y hasta luego.
Thank you so much. Gosh, that was amazing. I want to welcome each and every one of you who are joining us tonight. My name is Bree Carlson. I am the Deputy Director of People's Action, and we are here tonight to defeat Trump, flip the Senate, and heal America. Before we do anything else, I would like to ask everyone to take out your phone right now and text WIN to 79606 to join our Deep Canvas program. We are so proud to co-host this event tonight with the Women's March, Not Him, Us, and Seed the Vote. We have an exciting program for you. We'll hear insights from leaders on the ground in Arizona and North Carolina, both battleground states. We will hear from co-president of the Women's March and former director of Race Forward, Rinku Sen. And finally, we will hear from a Deep Canvas expert of 12 years, the co-founder of the New Conversation Initiative, Ella Barrett. Still, we know that the most important reason you joined us tonight is that, like us, you're ready to defeat Trump and flip the Senate, and we're going to do it. So tell me, are you in? Yes? All right, then make sure that you text WIN to 79606 to join the Deep Canvas program. It's a program that has been proven the most effective at persuading voters ahead of November 3rd. People's Action is an organization of more than 40 state and local organizations across 32 states, working to build power for everyday people to win racial, gender, and economic justice, and to advance a long-term agenda for a new economy. We have an enormous task before us. We will defeat Donald Trump, but that's just the first part of the job. Because like all of you who have joined us tonight, millions have already voted and millions will turn out to send Trump packing. But we know that the situation we are in didn't start with Trump and it will not end with him. Donald Trump has given a face and a voice to the anger and frustration that has been with us for decades. To heal America, we can't stop with defeating Trump. We have to defeat Trumpism. And that's what People's Action is committed to do through our Deep Canvas. Deep canvassing is not only the most effective method of persuading conflicted and undecided voters to Biden, but it is the only method proven to shift choice and resist negative attacks in the long term. That means the work you do with us over the next 21 days will not only have the power to win the 108 electoral votes in battleground states for Biden and Harris, it will also affect the worldview of the voters you talk to for the long haul. It is deep conversation and real connection that will defeat Donald Trump. We know that deep canvassing is our path to victory because we ran a 6-month-long experiment in which academic researchers tested our methods at moving undecided and conflicted voters in battleground states toward Biden. The results are in, and the deep canvas must be our path forward to November 3rd and beyond. Ella Barrett, as I said earlier, a deep canvas expert of 12 years, will join us to share with us her journey with deep canvassing over the past 12 years and how to put this methodology to use to both defeat Trump and flip the Senate on November 3rd, and to defeat Trumpism in the long term. We are running deep canvas phone banks into battleground states every night of the week. And tonight we are going to talk specifically about the deep canvas phone banks we are running with our member organizations in North Carolina and Arizona to not just defeat Trump in the key battleground states, but also to flip 2 critical Senate seats. So again, if you are ready to join us in the movement to defeat Trump and Trumpism, flip the Senate, and heal America, then sign up for our Deep Canvas program by texting WIN to 79606. With that, I will hand it over to Stephanie Maldonado from Lucha, Living United for Change in Arizona, to talk about the phenomenal work they are doing to win up and down the ballot in Arizona. Stephanie?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Stephanie Maldonado, and I am the current campaign manager with Lucha, the campaign that will ensure that we defeat Donald Trump and Martha McSally here in Arizona. At a young age, I knew my upbringing would be very, very different than those around me. Growing up in a mixed status home, I knew that my upbringing, that I knew that what my mom could and couldn't do, also me and my siblings couldn't do. Feeling limited and feeling afraid. In 2012, my mom made the tough decision to self-deport back to Mexico. And after a brief conversation with my mom, I too had to make a decision. Do I stay or do I leave? And after my mom told me these words, mija, we come to this country to fight. We come to fight for a better future and better opportunities for people, for our families. I decided to stay and fight for me and my siblings. And I know I am not alone. This is one of the millions of stories across the nation of families that are being separated and are continuing to be separated up today. We have Blanca, an amazing leader whose grandpa was deported back in 2010 because of SB 1070. We have Alexis, an amazing leader that is organizing and is continuing to build with other young leaders who had to flee Arizona because of SB 1070 and Joe Arpaio raids. And we know that Arizona has been fighting for the last 10 years. Arizona is no stranger to the fight, to the racism, and to anti-immigrant laws that are continuing to separate our families and to divide our communities. And this is why for these last few weeks, we've been partnering with partners across the country, making calls to thousands of voters, ensuring that not only do we get people to say yes to Mark Kelly and yes to Biden, but we go deeper and we have deep conversations of understanding the root of what it means to be a person of color, to be a person in poverty in this moment. And it's going to take much more than that. We know that everything is at stake this Senate election, and we know that without Arizona, with having Trump win, that is not enough. We need to defeat Martha McSally, and this is why we need you making those calls. We need people texting. We need people on the ground knocking on doors, because every single person we talk to is getting us closer to our goal, is getting us closer to defeating the racism that we've seen year after year in Arizona, and it's getting closer to ensure that our communities have a home that they feel safe in. So this is why I'm asking all of you here today that if you are in your state where we are guaranteed to win, join us in this fight, join us making the calls, and join us, because that's what it's going to take to win. And that's what we're going to do here in Arizona to defeat Martha McSally and Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now I want to take a moment and pass it to Bridget Flaherty, the co-director of Down Home North Carolina, to talk about the powerful work they are doing to move North Carolina voters.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget Flaherty, and I'm with Down Home North Carolina, and I'm so excited to be here with y'all tonight. So my 2 words to start tonight are defend and protect. Maybe it's the mama bear in me that is coming through tonight, but that's what we came here to do. The Trump administration presents an existential threat to all of us, and dumping Trump and defeating Senator Tillis means that we're defending the people we love, the land that we love, and it also means that we're protecting ourselves and the future generations to come. And keep making those calls and texts in these last 21 days in order to seize the opportunity that lays before us right now. That's right. We still have time left, and we have an opportunity to influence the outcomes in this election. Do not give in to despair. By being on this call tonight, we have an opportunity to build that new world that we all desperately need and deserve. And to get there, it requires political power and a people-powered infrastructure like the one we're seeing tonight. There is a truth that I'm holding as I speak to you right now. Ever since the creation of this place that we call the United States, as goes the South, so goes the nation. Y'all, North Carolina is not just a bellwether state in the 2020 elections. We are the linchpin in deciding the US Senate that could put Mitch McConnell in the minority, and the deciding state for the US presidency and the Supreme Court. With the road to the presidency, the Senate and the Supreme Court running through North Carolina, not to mention competitive races for the governor and control of our state legislature, you can see why more money has been spent here on TV ads than any other state in the country, just as an aside. But to go a little bit deeper into this, North Carolina, like many southern states, has gone through a profound political realignment in the last 50 years. We have a growing number of Black, Brown, immigrant, and youth voters that will be crucial to the progressive outcomes of this election. And even with these promising trends, time and time again, North Carolina elections come down to a razor thin margin. We are not an easy state to carry. The last 3 presidential elections were run within a 4% margin. Barack Obama only won this state once and with less than 50% of the vote. And in 2016, when our state went for Trump, our Democratic governor, Governor Cooper, only won by 10,277 votes, making him 1 out of 2 Democratic governors elected in 2016 in the South. So every vote counts in North Carolina. So there's work to do. And that's why you're here with us. And like we say in down home, North Carolina, come on in, y'all. We got work to do. To be clear, Tillis is a weak candidate. He is a weak incumbent, and not many people actually like him in this state. He was the Speaker of the State House from 2011 to 2015, and during that time, he killed Medicaid expansion. And because of this deliberate choice by Tillis, in the era of COVID, now 1.3 million North Carolinians out of 10 million who are uninsured and can't go to the doctors. And this is unacceptable in the time of a global pandemic. Once he moved to Congress, he continued to show his true colors by voting to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We need to take his vote seriously. By voting as he has on healthcare, Tillis is saying it is okay for some of us to die. And I do not want someone representing us that has this much power in determining the state of our country, our nation, and the future of this world in his hands. Make no mistake about it. We can defeat him, and he is in a vulnerable position. But as I've already mentioned before, it's going to be close. There are many independent voters in the state. 12% of Republicans are undecided on Tillis, and twice the share of Democratic voters are undecided about Cunningham. So we must stay focused and educate voters about his record. And we must do deep canvassing, as this is our best hope to win our long-term agenda. And when we do this, we can win. So to end, North Carolina is the closest margin and the most winnable of the must-swing states. And because of your commitment and time that you're showing here tonight, we have, again, the power to shape the future of this state, country, and world more than anyone else. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Bridget, and thank you, Stephanie. Thank you both for the powerful reminder of what's at stake in Arizona and North Carolina. If you all with us tonight are ready to help, text WIN to 79606 to join our Deep Canvas program so we can win back 2 critical Senate seats and defeat Donald Trump. Now I have the honor of introducing my good friend and one of the most brilliant leaders of our time, Rinku Sen.
Thank you so much, Bree, Stephanie, Bridget, Taina, just amazing. I'm so excited and happy to be with you, all of you, and totally inspired already just by you a story about a conversation that changed my life. When I was 17 years old, having grown up, not very political at all, and obviously not voting yet by the time I was 17. I was at college, and in the first week of arriving for my sophomore year, there was an incident on my campus where a Black first-year student was beaten up by 2 white athletes. And that incident sparked a whole campaign for racial justice, for change in our curriculum, for the hiring of professors of color, for needs-blind admission so that more students who weren't super wealthy could get into the school. And all these things were happening, and I was sitting them all out because I didn't think of myself as a person who organized or went to rallies. And one night I was with my friends, Valerie and Yuko. Valerie is a biracial Black and white woman from Connecticut. Yuko is a Japanese national who had grown up in California and in New York. And there was going to be a rally the next day, and they were both going to go, and they wanted me to go. So when they said, "Oh, Rinku, you should go," I said something initially like, "Oh, I'm not really into that. I'm not about that." And my friends did a gentle, loving, but firm intervention with me. And they started by telling me why the rally was important to them, what difference it was going to make in their lives if the campaign succeeded or failed. And then they said to me something that I don't recommend, but I'll tell you anyway. They said, "Rinku, you're not a girl anymore, you're a woman now, and you're not a minority, you're a person of color." And with those words, although I don't recommend telling other people who they are and setting their identities, we all get to self-determine. Nevertheless, it took some courage for my friends to tell me that maybe I needed to grow up a little bit in order to be part of this community in which I had found myself. And so I listened, partly because it was clear to me that they were still going to be my friends and still love me, whatever I decided. Uh, they'd keep working on me, but they would still love me. And I went to the rally the next day. And as an immigrant, that rally was the first time that I really understood that being an American wasn't about looking like Marsha Brady or eating hot dogs for dinner every night or going to sleepaway camp, even a concept that was completely foreign to my family. It was about investing in the community that I was in and working with the other people in that community to make it the most compassionate, most inclusive, most effective campus community that it could be. And that conversation changed my entire life. It changed it is the reason that I'm talking to you now tonight. If my friends hadn't had the courage to have that conversation with me, to initiate it, to fear that to get over any fear they had that I might be offended or bothered or angry, then I simply would not be sitting here. I'd probably be a college professor teaching comparative literature. And I think this is the path that was right for me, and I'm so grateful to be here. The conversation is the first unit of social action. Nobody does anything without a conversation. And most often that conversation is with another human being. We are all people who love to talk to ourselves. I certainly am. But when I've taken action to change something in the world, it's almost always been as the result of someone recruiting me, someone asking me, someone explaining, educating me about why that was an important action to take. These days in movement organizations and political organizations, we talk a lot about strategic communications. There are people at People's Action on the staff who are highly skilled at strategic communications, who have studied it for a long time. But like Mark Twain once said, there's a great Twain quote, where he says, "Let us make a special effort to stop communicating with each other so we can have some conversation." It's not about communication, it's not about the bells and whistles that we attach, whether we have animation or music or great photos. It's about the sincerity of the interaction. And it's about whether or not we're able to project to people that we actually care about them, because we do actually care about them. And you might say, well, that conversation that my friends had with me, that's different because I love them. But it's the spirit of friendship that we have to take into these conversations. We don't have to actually be friends. We have to feel like we're open to the conversation, to what the person has to say, to sharing ourselves. And one of the best things about Deep Canvas is that it requires you to share something about yourself, not just to do the transaction of getting the person to give or getting the person to vote or getting the person to sign up. You're trying to make an actual human connection. And the only way to do it is to be willing to reveal something about yourself as well as learn something about the other person. So it's the spirit of being friends, the spirit of being in community, the spirit of building this country together. And if we are able to do that, and keep doing it, because I think many of us have been doing it for 4 hard years, maybe 5, including the period before the 2016 election. Our country is never going to be the same after this. It's not going to be the same anyway, because we've had a pandemic that has killed so many, an unbelievable number of people, a surreal number of people that I still have trouble, getting right in my head with that figure. So we've had the pandemic, we've had a historic movement against police brutality and for police accountability and for a completely revamped and new and deeply minimized criminal justice system. And we've had the disasters of the Trump administration. After those 3 things, no country would ever be the same. But we have a chance now to shape it into the kind of country we actually want to live in and want to lead. Some of the things that are at stake for me in this election, first of all, have you learned more about elections and civic engagement this year than you ever have before? Do you know things about the Electoral College and how electors are assigned, appointed, the timeline by when they make their decisions? I have learned huge amounts of things about the Senate and how the Senate came to be the Senate, and how people came to be senators. And that I know that if I'm learning that much, other people are also learning at exponential paces. My housemate, I live in Texas, my housemate who is Black says, for sure, in no other election year has she had so much conversation with people about voting and how it works and what we need to do. So some of the things I'm looking forward to being able to do with when we're past having the daily chaos and wildness of Trump in the White House, and when we have a democratically controlled Senate that actually reflects the people of this country, and we have the majority in the House, I'm looking forward to controlling COVID so we can all get back to hugging our friends. I haven't seen so many of my friends in months and months and months. I live near my mother, but I still don't really hug her, and she doesn't really hug me. We miss having contact. So we need to get that under control. In about a decade, I will be looking for my Social Security. I want it to be there. My best friend relies on Medicaid expansion in California. She would not have health care or any kind of health insurance without that expansion. So the ACA has to exist in order for her to be healthy. I want people to have access to birth control and safe and legal and affordable abortions. So all of these things are on the ballot this year, and they're going to remain on the ballot. So lots of people I know say to you when you volunteer to do this, it's not worth it. You can't change minds. We're too polarized. We can't get past it. People have already decided. But you and I both know that that is not true, and that with a human connection, with really listening, with remembering that conversation, not communication, but conversation is the first unit of social action, I know we can win this thing, and I'm looking forward to doing that with all of you. Thank you so much. And Bree, I'm gonna pass this back to you.
Thank you so much, Rinku, for that powerful reminder that all of us have the power to make the change we need. And maybe more importantly, we have the power to help each other use it to shape the future of our country. We hope everyone watching tonight will text WIN to 79606 to join us in our deep that all of us need to remember we can make this change. Now I'm going to pass it to Ella Barrett, who is again the co-founder of the New Conversations Initiative, without whom and without whose partnership our Deep Canvas would not be possible. Ella?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bree. And thank you, Rinku. I was just thinking about the first person who asked me to volunteer to register voters. And it was like, she like strong armed me to the volunteer shift, but I wouldn't be here without that. So a little bit about me. My name is Ella. I've been deep canvassing for the last 12 years and was part of the team of super brave organizers and volunteers who started this methodology of deep canvassing. And I've had the opportunity to work with People's Action volunteers and organizers over the past month. And we're going to give you a little bit of a treat to start. We're going to allow you to directly hear from them about what this deep canvas experience has been like and what it has felt like to have these meaningful conversations with voters in battleground states in this moment.
Hi, my name is Alexandra, and I have been in California for the past 17 years, but currently in New Mexico, and I've been volunteering for People's Action for about 4 weeks.
Hello, my name is Judith Cawhorn, and I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I have been working with People's Action doing deep canvassing for, well, this next Thursday will be my 6th time to call in.
I'm calling from Greensboro, North Carolina, and I started making calls with People's Action when they first started calling for the presidential campaign and local races in North Carolina. So I think that was about 5 weeks ago or so, and the crew has grown a ton since then, which is awesome.
Hi, I'm Angelica, and I'm recording this from Oakland, California. I started deep canvassing with People's Action a few weeks ago. So I've done a few phone banks, and it's really been a worthwhile way for me to spend several hours and feel like I'm doing everything that I can to save our democracy.
I've primarily been calling in Michigan, although I've done some in Pennsylvania and some in North Carolina. And my commitment to Michigan is because we were a swing state and we only lost by 2 votes per precinct. So when I learned about deep canvassing and how little, how few people we had to persuade in order to be successful, I was in. And then when I started doing the work, I became more committed to it.
I was talking to an undecided voter, and we were talking for a while, and we weren't really connecting about anything particularly resonant. I didn't really feel like we were getting into the meat of anything. He was talking a bit about how important the economy is to him. I was talking about how scared I am about COVID, and we weren't quite like on the same page. So sort of at the end of the conversation, or what I thought was the end, I thought, okay, I'll just throw in this one issue that's really important to me, which is climate change. And I had sort of stayed away from it because I was worried it would be too, left wing of an issue for someone. And that was really like the issue for him. He was like, yeah, that is something I really disagree with the Republicans on. Like, I grew up in Vermont, and like nature is so important to me. And like, what good is a few extra dollars in the economy if you can't breathe the air or drink the water? And so we were like really able to connect on that.
I was really moved by the connections I was able to make with the people on the other end of the line. I am thinking of folks like Juan, who was actually at work when I called, but still took my call. And he works at a construction site. And the second I asked him, how are things going? His answer was fine. But then when I shared how much I've been struggling, my family's been struggling, and how worried I am about this pandemic, things switched.
And so we went back to talking about COVID. And then I got talking to him about how things were in our life 6 years ago. How did he feel 6 years ago? How does he remember his grandchildren and children feeling? And he immediately began to say, oh yeah, 6 years ago, we had problems, but not anything like this. And he said, my head is beginning to just clear up. I just can't tell you how thankful I am that you called me. He said, I think the Lord must have sent you to me because I'm beginning to just feel so clear-headed.
He shared with me that his wife was actually came down with COVID, and he got a call when he was at the workplace from her saying she couldn't breathe and that she had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance. like Juan, so many people have been impacted by this virus. I shared that my husband's grandmother passed away in a nursing home in Brooklyn, along with almost 50 other people, just a week shy of her 100th birthday. The impacts of failed leadership have been real and they've been deep.
And then I said, well, now that you're feeling like this and we know you're going to vote, how are you feeling now? He said, oh, I'm definitely voting for Joe Biden. You are absolutely right. We can't stay where we're at. We've got to take a chance on him. And we talked a little longer. We both talked about how good our hearts felt after the conversation. And I have to tell you that Albert is still in my heart.
I love that these deep canvassing phone banks are done in partnership with local or state racial and economic justice organizations. And I also think that while deep canvassing is more challenging than other kinds of phone banking that I've done, it feels much more meaningful, and it's actually about really tapping into shared values and building relationships, with people that are going to need to be a part of that base of building a new world. And so it feels like it's part of a long game, and that's really important to me.
I've never had such deep conversations. It really does make a difference to ask folks how they are and to also be able to share how we're doing. None of us are okay during this time, but it does really help to feel like we're doing something to save our democracy and to be able to turn the page on this really dark chapter.
This kind of campaigning I've done a lot of campaigning. I'm 73 now. I've done a lot. But this is some of the most radical and human campaigning that I've ever done.
Awesome. So if we could please give it up for Judith and Logan, Alexandra and Angelica. So incredible. Judith, your story made me literally want to start dialing like right now. Like that connection that you were able to make with that voter is just so powerful. And I relate on such a deep level because I started out in this work as an incredibly anxious intern. I want to tell a little bit about the origin story of where deep canvassing came from. And it's really a methodology that came out of intense pain within the LGBT rights movement. In 2008, when we saw Barack Obama get elected, we lost the freedom to marry in California by incredible margins. And even in the liberal stronghold of LA County. And as a young bisexual girl, I can remember sitting with my friends and just feeling absolutely elated that we had elected Obama as our president, but crushed and devastated in a way that I feel like it took me years to really unpack. And the pain of that moment, while it was so hard, it also motivated me and sort of shifted my career. I was a social work major and I thought I was going to be a therapist coming out of college. But I ended up, as soon as I graduated that November, I moved to LA and I started interning with this experimental project at the LA LGBT Center that was going out and actually having conversations with people who had voted against us on Prop 8 and learning and asking why they had voted against us. And I can feel the nervousness now, but during my first deep canvas shift, they put me in a leadership position because I was an intern. That's what I was supposed to do, supporting brand new deep canvassers. But watching this training and thinking about coming out as bisexual at the door, I almost told my supervisor I was so anxious that I was like this close to saying like, I'm not feeling well, can I stay behind? But I didn't. I had a really great canvas buddy who, helped me. I ended up going on my own to doors. We were across the street from each other, and my first 3 doors were supporters. So thank goodness it like built my confidence up. And then I came to this door of a woman in her 60s who told me that she had voted against us. And we got to talking, I just kind of felt my feet on the ground and started breathing and trying to stay centered, that my story mattered, that I had something to really share with this voter. And she ended up telling me about her own marriage and getting a divorce, but talking about how much she idealized her parents' marriage and how much that meant to her, and how much I was really looking to have the same sort of love and connection and privileges that her parents were able to have in their marriage. And I talked about my coming out story and the process of coming out to myself and coming out to my parents. And by the end of the conversation, I could see her body language had totally shifted. She was like coming out of the door. She was and actually ended up asking me questions by the end of the conversation, because she said she had never had a safe space to really ask anyone about the experience of being bisexual. And for me, there was a big shift in sort of how I was seeing her too. In the beginning, I just saw her as someone anti-gay. And by the end, I was really realizing and seeing her as someone who had really been taught to be anti-gay and who had been susceptible to right-wing messaging and been brought up a certain way. And by the end of our conversation, she just said, "Thank you so much for spending this time with me." And I asked her, like, if we vote on marriage again, like, are we going to have your vote? And she said, yes. And I was elated. I was so relieved. I was shocked. And on the way back to the Canvas site in the car, I talked about how incredible it was to feel that I had changed someone's vote. But what made me even more just really realize the power of what had just happened is that I thought about what's going to happen the next time that she meets someone LGBT. Like, is she going to treat that person with more kindness and more humanity and more curiosity and love than the way she looked at me when I first said I came out at the door? And that's really how I feel this work has just completely changed my life. And I would just say that, like, in the same way that she sort of saw such a change in me and saw me differently, I really felt like a piece of myself healed after that loss, because I felt seen as an LGBT person in a very different way than I had with my parents and my friends and my family. So after that Canvas shift, I decided that I was going to spend the rest of my career and the rest of my life creating more opportunities for more people to have these conversations with voters and to have that sort of connection and healing across difference. So for the last 12 years, we have had the privilege of really helping adapt this model to abortion rights and climate and decarceration and immigration. And it's been such a pleasure to work with People's Action to develop the first ever deep canvas on presidential persuasion. So I'm gonna flip to a little bit of a video of how deep canvassing is really different from traditional canvassing and why this work is so important right now in this moment.
How are deep canvassing conversations different? In a traditional canvass, the volunteer is trained to identify where the voter stands. You read from a script and are delivering a prepared message. In deep canvassing, canvassers are trained to have deep conversations with the voter, sharing their stories, listening, and asking questions to learn about their perspective. Why is this so important right now? Our country is deeply polarized, but things are shifting. People are hungry for opportunities to build connections and make meaning of what is happening. This presidential election will come down to a small number of votes in key battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. In order to win, we must have conversations with conflicted voters.
Awesome. So you got a little bit of an insight into what the Deep Canvas methodology looks like, but when you come to volunteer with us, you're going to have the opportunity to get a full training and a full briefing in the script so that you will feel as comfortable as possible during your first shift. And just to wrap up, I just want to ground us again around why this work is so important right now. And I think it was Rinku said on one of our prep phone calls that the best election protection is a landslide. And that means both getting out our base, but it also means in order to beat Trump and win in these swing districts, we have to lock down the Electoral College and have persuasion conversations with voters. And I just want to get really real with y'all right now. Like, I was just looking at the numbers, and from our month, our call shifts, and about 17% of folks who we've been calling are still saying in these battleground areas that we need to win so badly, are saying they still don't know who they're going to vote for. And with with losing Michigan with 2 votes per precinct in 2016, the fact that 17% of votes in these areas are still up for grabs 20 days out is like really high stakes. So I would just say, like, I have so much faith in this model. It's 100 times more effective. I have so much faith in our organizers and our trainers to prepare you to do this work. And I just ask that you please come out with us in the next 20 days, and please text WIN to 79606 if you can join us and have these incredibly impactful conversations with folks. And finally, our work doesn't end on election day, right? Like, we are in this for the long haul. And I would say we need you in the next 20 days, but we also need you for the next 4 years to join People's Action's member organizations and the Deep Canvas movement to actually uncover and dismantle the white supremacy and sexism that has made it possible for Trump to get elected in the first place. So please come out with us, and I'll pass back to you, Bree.
Thank you, Ella. Wow, powerful testimony. So thank you for being with us tonight, and thank you for your brilliant leadership in developing this transformational program. I'm going to pass it now to Catherine Curran-Brome from our People's Action National Staff. Take it away.
Thanks, Bree, and thank you so much, Ella. You really said it all there, and I have been absolutely inspired getting to work with Ella and all the folks from the New Conversation Initiative over the past few months. And I actually joined People's Action after working on the Bernie 2020 campaign, because when I arrived first in rural Iowa for the Bernie campaign, I had this disbelief that conversations like what Ella described, her first time deep canvassing, that those kind of conversations were really possible, that I could come into this new state and, connect with Trump supporters and complete strangers, and not only build relationships, but actually shift worldview. I think like many folks out there, that Trump supporters were this whole other part of America that I had nothing in common with, because that is what the news and what social media kept telling me. But what I found out in Iowa, and then North Carolina, and then Pennsylvania, and now in every battleground state in the country, and what thousands of our Deep Canvas volunteers, like the ones you heard from tonight, have found, is that we can connect, we can shift worldview, and it is simply up to each of us to step up and do the work. And that work is called deep canvassing. All of these barriers that we have been told won't allow us to connect with people who are different from us, those are barriers that have been built to keep us divided. And what deep canvassing does is it brings those barriers down. And y'all, there has never been a more important moment to join our Deep Canvas program than now. Like our other amazing speakers have said, we are 21 days away from the most important election of our lifetimes. That means we have 21 days, 21 opportunities to defeat Trump and to flip the Senate. So how do we do that, right? That is the big question these days. And what I can say without a doubt is that the way we win is deep canvassing, because deep canvassing at its core is transformational and not transactional conversations. So if you are ready to be a part of this transformational program that is proven to be over 100 times more effective than traditional presidential persuasion, then please join me and the team here for a Deep Canvas training and phone bank this week. You will be trained up by the most supportive organizing community you can imagine. So if you are nervous to make calls, if you are unsure how to have these conversations, then you are in the right place. You will be trained and supported every step of the way by our team. So my question for each of you is, are you ready to win? Are you ready to defeat Trump? Are you ready to flip the Senate? And are you ready to heal America? If your answer is yes, then you are ready to join our Deep Canvas program. And essentially, to join our program, we have 3 really easy steps. The first step is that you should, like our other amazing speakers have told us, text WIN, W-I-N, to 79606 to receive election updates from the People's Action family. Step 2 is to sign up for your Deep Canvas training and phone bank by going to the website ppls.ac/phones. And we need each of you to sign up for at least 2 phone banks per week for our final 3 weeks so that we can win. And like Ella and Rinku told us, the best alive. So we need each of you showing up this week and next week and our final week to Election Day. We have trainings and phone banks every night of the week into different battleground states, and you can view that entire schedule at the website ppls.ac/phones. So if you're ready to throw down with Bridget and the team at Down Home, North Carolina, join us next Tuesday for North Carolina Tuesdays. And if you're ready to throw down with Stephanie and the team at Lucha, please join us this Sunday for our calls into Arizona. So again, step 1 is text WIN to 79606. Step 2 is to go to the website ppls.ac/phones to sign up for your Deep Canvas training and phone banks. And step 3 is to join our Slack. Slack is our communications platform, and it is how volunteers communicate with each other and with staff. So you can join our Slack by going to the website ppls.ac/join/Slack. So we have 21 days to do this work, and I am so proud to be in this with you, and I can't wait to see you on your first phone bank. Welcome to the People's Action family, and I will see y'all this week. Again, if you didn't catch it the first few times, the website to sign up for a Deep Canvas training and phone bank is ppls.ac/phones, and you can text WIN, W-I-N, to 79606 to receive weekly updates from us. While y'all sign up to join this transformational Deep Canvas program, I'm going to toss it back to Bree so she and Tahina can close us out.
Thank you, Catherine. And a big thanks to all of our speakers for being a part of the event. Even bigger thanks to all of you who joined us across the country tonight on Crowdcast and through Facebook. Please join us now by texting WIN to 79606. If you have any questions at all, you can drop them in the chat. And while you do that, our wonderful musical guests, Taina Seeley and Gaetano Vaccaro, are going to play us out.
Thank you so much, Bree. Thank you, People's Action, for having us. Thank you, watchers and listeners, for tuning in. I want to offer this last song as an offering of energy to keep us moving on in these next 21 days and beyond as we keep this struggle for justice moving along. This is our last song for the evening, En la Verdad. Quedo hila en la distancia. Hay una voz que me canta la historia que tienes dentro de ti. Deja que suene, déjala vivir, dice la María. Está la verdad, es la medicina para sanar el alma. Sobrevivientes que ya no se esconden, que ven a la bestia y la exponen, la dolorosa verdad que testifica nos da el coraje, nos da la fuerza, porque la seré tu testigo, seré tu puente, codo a codo seremos valientes. Hoy declaramos que nunca más estaremos solas en nuestra pena, porque la magia está en la unidad, es la medicina para sanar el alma. De este dolor enseñaremos, de las cenizas renaceremos, de silencio roto nos levantaremos, en nuestra unidad lucharemos. De este dolor enseñaremos, de las silencio roto nos levantaremos, en nuestra unidad lucharemos. Está la unidad, la resistencia y la esperanza, porque la magia está en la verdad, es la medicina para sanar el alma. Thank you all so much. Peace, love, and liberation.